everyone, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase Lee, and my co-host,
Ryan Sutfield.
That's fucking right. And hey, listen, guys, if you're new to this show, welcome. And if you're a returning person, welcome back. I can't believe you stayed with us this long, but we thank you. This is a show where we take a look at movies coming out on the weekend, and we'll take a look at a certain actor, actress, director, genre, what have you, and we'll make a top 5 list according to that subject and to honor that movie coming out. And so that's what we do. And the cool thing about the show is it's live, so we have no idea what the hell's going to come out of our mouths, and we don't know each other's list. So that is what makes this fun. So before we begin, Brian, how are we doing today?
I'm exhausted, but I'm excited to do the show. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Brian had his prom last night, which means he's definitely tired. Because I remember I stayed up, and I'm not even joking. If Chris Duke is listening to this episode, I remember we went to prom. It sucked for me. That was the worst experience of my life. But I had fun hanging out with my friends. And so I remember afterwards we went to like a bowling alley, and they locked us in until like 6 a.m. And then like I went to his house and took a nap. And like I'm an old man at heart. I have an old man soul that just like reeks of walkers and like porridge and murder mystery shows. And I remember I woke up like 30 minutes later and I went home because I always wake up early because I'm an old man. So yeah, my prom was fun. It looks like Brian's prom was fun from the sunglasses. So I'm not going to question. I'm just going to acknowledge the sunglasses. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm really excited for this episode, man. This is going to be a good episode. So with that being said, Brian, what are we talking about this week?
X-Men Apocalypse comes out this week, so we are doing the top 5 X-Men films. Well, according to Chase, he thinks I'm hungover. I'm actually wearing these sunglasses. Well, for one thing, I am tired, like he said, but also Cyclops, my boy Cyclops, representing my boy, so why not wear the sunglasses?
Cyclops, hungover, same thing. I'm fucking with you, Brian. If you had fun, you had fun, man. Just live it up. So, yeah, I'm really excited to do this, man, because X-Men was... Guys, if you don't know my age, I'm 26, and so I was born in 1990. And the very first like comic book movie I saw was at my friend's house when I was 8 years old. That's when it came out. Was Blade, and I never saw one in theaters until X-Men in 2000. I was 10 years old and whatnot. And I just remember being hooked into it from start to finish. And I was like, holy shit! Like, I can't believe I did not read comic books growing up, and now, 26 years later, I can show you the stack over there. I'm slowly starting to build a comic book collection. I'm literally just collecting one issue of each character, or each comic book character, just to see how it's portrayed in the comics versus how I watch it in the movie, so I can have a little bit of understanding from each. So yeah, X-Men. I'm super excited to talk about this. Brian, before we get to your opinion on the just overall X-Men and stuff and what you think about them, what film are we including in this list if we so choose?
Deadpool, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I was Brian and I were talking about this, and Deadpool counts because it is set in the X-Men universe, and if they have already come out with a Gambit movie or like another solo movie or stuff, those would count as well because they are technically in this universe. Yeah, so I was just like, yeah, Deadpool totally counts. I mean, hell, they have an X-Men character in there that's in other X-Men films, so that does count to me. And plus, he is a part of the X-Force and mutant catalog, if you will, so he does count. So, Brian, what do you think of X-Men? And Brian would have been 4 years old, so obviously he didn't see the first one in theaters. The second one came out in 2003, I believe. So Brian was...
Well, actually, when the first one came out, I was 2, but
whoops.
Nice math. When I was much younger, I wasn't really into X-Men. Like, I was into all the other superheroes. X-Men really wasn't my cup of tea when I was a little kid. When I turned 13, that's when First Class came out. That was my first X-Men film, and I watched that in the theater. Then after that, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get on this X-Men train. Watched all the other films, liked most of them, and then obviously I've seen all the rest since. Like, I saw the Wolverine theater, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, and I just saw Apocalypse. So now I'm on the X-Men train. I still don't love it like certain people do, but I really enjoyed this franchise for sure. To me, my favorite superhero franchise. Like, I'm more into the MCU and like the Raimi Spider-Man films and the Dark Knight trilogy, X-Men to me is just like, it's good. Some of it's great. Some of it is eh. But for the most part, I'm like, it's good. But I don't love it like a lot of people do. But I understand the love for X-Men 100%.
Yeah, it was technically it's the first superhero like ensemble film because before that you had a shitty Fantastic Four movie in the 90s and that was it. So this was like technically like the first kind of Avengers warm up, if you will, and it totally works. Like everyone just kind of clicks and they cast all the right people, and now all these people are synonymous with these characters, especially Hugh Jackman, who, by the way, when Wolverine 3 comes out next year in 2017, this fucking guy have been playing this character for 17 years. Think about that. Holy shit, time flies. So, yeah, so I'm really excited to do this list. So without further ado, let's do this. Top 5 Saturdays Live, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing it over X-Men films and Deadpool included if you want to include it in your list. So with that being said, let's jump to number 5. So, Brian, I have to ask you every single week. It is a hard question. What is your number 5 favorite X-Men film in that universe so far?
My number 5 is the first X-Men. Now, the reason why this is lower for me is that I really dig the film. Unfortunately for me, the only flaw I have with the film is slightly with the pacing. And I think that might be my biggest issue with most of these films. Like some of them, the pacing I could get past. Like I could give a pass. This one for me is just a little slow. I mean, yes, it sets up a lot of stuff, but it is a great introduction to this franchise. I really, really, really enjoyed this film because before this, the only film that Bryan Singer, I believe, directed, the only well-known film, was The Usual Suspects. So him helming the superhero film was like something different, and he was helming the star of a franchise. And also, I looked this up. This movie only cost like $75 million to make, so this was a very low budget at the time. Obviously, things were cheaper back then. It's the truth, but it's a great introduction to this franchise. I love all the characters in this film. I love Wolverine's introduction because he's just someone fighting in cages, and then we find him, and then Xavier brings him in. It's great. I love it very much. I really enjoy this film. I can't really think of my favorite part of the film. I can think of my favorite parts from the other 4 films on my list, but not this one. I would have to think like very thoroughly, but I really enjoyed the first X-Men. It's my number 5. And by the way, you'll probably see these covers very often because I just bought these Blu-rays a few weeks ago. Thank you, Best Buy.
Yeah, I actually need to get the first 3 on Blu-ray. I have the new X-Men films, the most recent ones on Blu-ray, but I have the old ones on DVD because that's when I got them. But we have the same number 5. And you know what's really funny is that I'm not going to call it, but I'm going to say that we're going to have one of the closest lists that we've ever had on this show. Like, I'm talking like 4 out of 5, possibly 5 out of 5 correct. I could be overstating it, but yeah, I'm always right in these things. Yeah, the first X-Men, I remember I was 10 years old and I saw it and I didn't know what to think about it because, like I said, I didn't read comics when I was a kid, but I am a 90s kid, ladies and gentlemen. I grew up with that iconic TV show. Ba-da-na-na-na. That theme song is ridiculous, ridiculously good. Yeah, the first X-Men introduced us to all these characters. It showed a villain in Magneto to where, yeah, he was a dude on a mission, and we got his mission. We understood his motives, and he also had some sympathy. He's not like a villain where he was like, I want to take over the world. No, he has a legit reason why he wants to do the things he does and why Professor X is on the opposite side of the coin. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it kind of reminded me of the most recent season of Daredevil when Daredevil and the Punisher would go at it. And they have different ideologies and they kind of go back and forth. But the movie opens up with the backstory of Magneto, and you see why he is the way he is, and I don't blame him. But, when you look at him, you're like, whoa, calm down, bro. Let's have a little restraint on you. But, yeah, Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are the 2 driving forces in this film. Because at this point, no one knew who the hell Hugh Jackman was. And if you did...
He was just a theater actor. He was just with the theater. He didn't really do a lot of films. This was his first like, really big introduction to the film. He did some smaller stuff. I think Swordfish came out before this. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, he just did theater before X-Men.
Yeah, it was like a 1-2 punch. It was like Swordfish and the X-Men, and no one knew who he was. So he was not the star of the film, even though he stole the film as like the newcomer. But the seasoned actors and Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, those are what drove the movie. And of course, Halle Berry was in there, and she was a semi-big star, back in the day. But yeah, this was just one of those things where like Ian McKellen, you believe that he was Magneto. Patrick Stewart, you believe that he was Professor X. It was just all about believability, and they completely sold their characters, and it added sympathy to one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel comic book universe. So yeah, the first one, man, I dig it quite a bit. It's really funny because like I like the first one, but like these next four, like they top the first one, and it's like Brian's right. Like this is a franchise where it's had like a lot of really great highs and a lot of really great kind of middle of the road and like one stinker. But yeah, no, the first one is it's a great way to set it up, and I can't wait to talk about the next four. So all right, speaking of that, number 4.
I'm going to get a lot of hate for putting it this low on my list, but the other reason why is because with this one, I would say that the pacing also bugs me just a little bit with this. So my number 4 is X2. Now I'm going to open this by saying this. The opening sequences in this is my favorite opening sequence in this entire franchise thus far. The sequence with Nightcrawler in the White House is fucking stellar. And I'm not a big Alan Cumming fan. I do not like Alan Cumming, but he killed it as Nightcrawler. He was great as Nightcrawler. And X2 obviously did a lot of superior things to the first X-Men. The sequence involving Stryker's army inside the X-Mansion, fucking awesome. That scene kind of caused the film to originally be rated R, but they had to cut out a few seconds just so it could get that PG-13 rating. Scene was fantastic. The Nightcrawler sequence was my favorite sequence of the entire film. Like, I really enjoy X2, and the way it ends kills me. Like it like destroys me. Not gonna spoil it, although it's been 13 years. I don't want to say anything, but the person that we think dies at the end of that film, it kind of kills me because I love that character a lot. Not just because of how they look, but because of how great of a person they are, how kind and generous they are. But X2, great sequel. Definitely one of the best superhero sequels we've ever had. It just isn't my favorite. I understand where everyone says that this is the best one at the time, because another film kind of took that spot, or maybe some people will still kind of say that this is the best one. But X2, I still think is a very, very fun film. It's very dark. It's very gritty. I love X2. It's just not one of my favorites, but I still really, really dig it very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the episode where you're going to see the quintessential age difference between me and Brian. Brian, I don't know why you put that one so damn low. Your next 3 better be like way better, and you better have a good reason, because X2 is great. It's on my list somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where, but it's definitely not number 4. I got to disagree on the pacing issues, man. I literally just watched it before we record this episode. I thought it was paced out very well, and like
I guess when I watched it last week, I guess it wasn't the best day to watch it.
I guess, man. Like
I don't know.
But hey, man, I'll get to it when I get to it. But yeah, it's a good pick though. At least it's on your list. My number 4, I'm gonna go with the one that basically revitalized the series after the shitty Origins movie. I'm going to go with X-Men First Class. Now, see, Brian's going to get angry because, like I said, this is where our age differences come in. I was 21 when X-Men First Class came out, and I really liked it a lot. I remember going there. I was like, dude, I'm just excited to see an X-Men film, and it's from the guy that directed Kick-Ass. Oh, hell yeah, because Kick-Ass literally came out the year before, so I was like on this kind of Kick-Ass high, and I was like, oh shit, like what the hell is he gonna do to X-Men? Is he gonna make it like super bloody and like gross and crude? I hope so, but I mean obviously it's not gonna happen. But after I walked out of First Class, I was like, who the fuck is Michael Fassbender? Because at that point, the only movie I had seen him in because Shame came out in 2011, the same year that First Class came out. And that was kind of like the year of the Fassbender. And then 2013 was 12 Years a Slave. Of course, he's in Prometheus in 2012. Yeah, I think X-Men First Class was the first Fassbender movie I ever saw. So I remember when I walked out, I was like, who in the hell is this? Because he completely killed it. I'm not going to say anything, but I love Ian McKellen as Magneto. But there could be an argument to be made that Michael Fassbender might be the greatest Magneto out of both of them. There is something about his performance in First Class where you felt even more sympathy for him, and you felt even more rage and anger with his character. You felt like all these emotions that you felt with Ian McKellen's Magneto, but like times 10, which kind of makes sense because if you're like a young angsty teenager, you're going to have a little bit more rage and emotions than when you're looking like Ian McKellen and you're fucking like 120s. So I'm just kidding. Ian McKellen looks great as always. Yeah, so I like Michael Fassbender's performance. I remember that bar scene that he had. That was incredible. The whole beginning and opening was incredible. And when he transforms into Magneto with the helmet at the end, holy shit, man. Like, it was dynamite. And the other part about it is that James McAvoy, that dude, you could argue that he's better than Patrick Stewart. I don't know what it is with the producers, but they nailed it with the older versions and the younger versions in terms of the chemistry and how they gelled well as characters, and how it leapt off the screen and kind of grappled onto the audience. I love James McAvoy. I love Michael Fassbender. And here's what I'm going to say about this certain character. I don't really care for Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. Never have, never will. She is fine in the movies. I just do not prefer her. Like I said, I recently watched X2 again today before we recorded. Rebecca Romijn is Mystique. That fucking woman. She is mysterious. She is sexy. She is a badass shapeshifter. And that's what I kind of imagine what Mystique would look like if I was reading these comics as a kid going, holy shit, like, I'm kind of imagining what's going on in my head. That's how I would imagine Mystique. Jennifer Lawrence is sexy. She can be a badass. Look at the Hunger Games movies. Mysterious, that could be debatable, but she just never really brought it for me. And I don't know what it is about her in this role. And I realized that she signed on to First Class before she got famous, because she signed on to the Hunger Games and First Class like right after Winter's Bone. And that was like kind of in her little pocket in the beginning of her career before she fucking won an Oscar. And now she's like exploded her juices all over Hollywood. But I never bought it from her. Now, on the flip side, everyone else, like all the other mutants and stuff, were awesome. I liked Brian, what's his fucking name? Lucas something?
Lucas Till.
Lucas Till. He was really good. I really liked him out of the group. I even liked Kevin Bacon in the movie. He was great. But on
Bacon.
But on the flip side to that as well, I did not like January Jones. Like, listen, she might look like Emma Frost from the comics because I did look her up. Her character up on Google, but holy shit, she's about as stale as that loaf of bread in my kitchen right now. So listen, I think there's a lot of highs and lows with First Class, but it is a strong fucking movie and a very strong kind of reboot to this whole franchise. And that's what kind of got me even more excited for Days of Future Past, the Wolverine movie, now Apocalypse, because I'm seeing that tomorrow and stuff. And that's the other thing I forgot to mention just real quick. Brian has seen Apocalypse. I have not. So that might be on his list. It will definitely not be on my list because obviously I can't fucking do that. But yeah, First Class for me, number 4, great restart into this franchise. It's great. So, on a side note, I do like the fact that they are going by decades. So like the First Class is in the 60s, Days of Future Past is in the 70s, Apocalypse is in the 80s, and then the producers of the film said the next one's gonna be in the 90s. So I think that's cool how they're doing that. So eventually they'll catch up to the modern one. So yeah, Brian, would you like to discuss this?
I'm gonna have to pass on this one, sir.
Okay, so I told you guys, age difference right here. I'm betting $10. I'm throwing down the table right now that X-Men First Class is in Brian's one of the top 2 spots. We'll see though. All right. So, speaking of that, moving on to number 3, Brian, take it away.
My number 3 is Deadpool, and
we have 2 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
There we go. Okay, the first great film of this year. When this film came out, I had no idea that it would get the critical acclaim that it got, because I thought that us audience members would be like, "Oh my god, this film is great," and the critics would be like, "This is so stupid because it's so crude and so misogynistic and over the top." Instead, they loved it, and I'm glad to hear that, because Deadpool was fucking lit. Saw this the Thursday night with 5 of my friends. We had a blast. This movie was so entertaining. They honored the character of Deadpool so perfectly. The meta was incredible. I had a blast with Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds was perfect, not only in terms of like sexiness, but badassery. Like, he owned the role of Deadpool, and no one else could have played this role like he could have, in my opinion, because he had so much passion. It took him 10 years to make this film. They ruined him in Origins Wolverine, but he mocked that a lot in this film, and it was great. Like I said, the meta with the whole McAvoy and Stewart thing, that's perfect. The action was well done. The sequence where he's trying to find Francis. Where the fuck is Francis? Where the fuck is Francis? And he's on the hockey rink, ice rink, and then he's chasing that guy with that whatever that thing is called. I don't know. And then the opening sequence of him where he's like this, I have some hard spots, that came out wrong, or did. Then he kisses that guy on the cheek. It's so fucking funny. I love Deadpool. And this Blu-ray is fantastic, but obviously Senor Lee has the better Blu-ray. He has the Steelbook, and I just love the back of it. It says, I give it 4 Golden Girls. It's the best picture of the year. Quoted by the one and only Betty White. Yeah, Deadpool, fantastic film. I love it so much. So much. First great film of the year. Going to be in my top 10 possibly. And also another fun fact, I had some issues with the villain, and that was really it. And I'm the only person who didn't give it an A+. So, yeah, Deadpool, fantastic film. Loved it.
So, yeah, this is our second one in a row, and Brian is right. I got the beautiful Steelbook here. If you open it up, well, bam, you get the whole face right there, and then inside you get the you get him laying on the bear rug. So it's pretty awesome. But yeah, no, Deadpool is. Here's why it's on my list. Not only is it a fun, entertaining movie, now I've seen it 3 times now. I saw it twice in 1 week. Jesus, because I bought it on the Tuesday that it came out, and I watched it that night. And then my roommate wanted to watch it like on that Sunday, so I literally watched it again 5 days later. It didn't get old to me, which is a very good sign of the stability of a movie and stuff. The reason why this is on my list is that it's different in terms of tone. And what I mean by that is when I watched X2 again today, as much as I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I do like the DC Universe of what they started as of so far, the X-Men movies are the only superhero movies I feel that are grounded in reality. Now, I'm not saying that the MCU over at Disney isn't grounded in reality. Look at movies like the Captain America trilogy. I feel like that is a little bit more grounded than the other ones. DC, there's too many fantasy elements, especially in Batman v Superman and stuff, that doesn't really ground it, but I still enjoy watching it. I can be transported into that universe, no problem. But the X-Men films feel real. It doesn't feel like, people slapping on silly costumes and, doing these silly superpowers. Yeah, they got superpowers, but there's a certain grittiness to it. There's a certain kind of a reality that kind of sets in. You're like, wow, I can actually see these people like scurry around in my backyard. So that's what makes Deadpool so radically different. It's because what Brian said is meta. It is violent. It is crude. It is vulgar. It is something completely different. And I said this in my review of Deadpool when I reviewed it. One of my favorite parts is when blood hits Colossus in the face. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why is that one of the best parts? Is because the X-Men films come from a PG-13 universe, and it was kind of exciting to see Colossus come from this PG-13 universe, get sprayed with blood, and then throw up all over himself. There was something just kind of special about that. And I was like, this is Deadpool's world, okay? And it totally works, and it's just really funny to put these PG-13 characters inside this universe. But it's hilarious, it's violent, it's stylistic, but most importantly, people keep forgetting this. Deadpool is a romance film. It is a love story. And after watching it 3 times in a row, there's a lot of heart in this movie. A lot of people will look on the surface and be like, Deadpool, what the fuck? It's just Ryan Reynolds hopping around in a red onesie. No. The scene that gets me every single time is when he's sitting in front of that doctor and he's kind of like in denial that he's got cancer, and he's looking at his girlfriend while she's like, is there anything we can do? And he says something in his voiceover where it's like, I'm looking at her as if Brian, what was it like? I'm looking at her.
I don't remember. I haven't rewatched the movie yet, so I don't really remember that line. I know what you're talking about, but I completely forgot.
I think it was something along the lines of like, I'm looking at her as if it's the last time or as if it's the first time I'm seeing her or something like that. And there's lines like that that are sprinkled throughout where you're like, wow, Wade Wilson's got some heart, yo. And I really appreciate that. So it's got heart. It's violent. It's hysterical sometimes. Still, after a third time watching it, I think the best joke that gets me every single time is the baby hand stroke on the chin. And it's just, it kills me. And then when he's like, it's going to feel bigger in that hand. And then, of course, TJ Miller, man. I got to say this. I've been on the TJ Miller train since 2010's She's Out of My League. Once I saw that movie, I was like, this fucking guy is going to have a career. I don't care what he's in, but he's going to explode in Hollywood. I really love him on Silicon Valley. I love that show. He's really great on it. He is one of the best improvers I've ever seen. Like if you have time, go on YouTube and watch the 4-minute clip of him insulting one of the characters on Silicon Valley for 4 minutes straight, and it's hilarious. And he's really hilarious in this one. He bounces out with Ryan Reynolds very, very well. Unlike Brian, I didn't like necessarily hate the villain or anything. I thought the reason why I liked it so much is because I fucking hated Ed Skrein in Transporter Refueled. So when I saw Deadpool, I was like, this was like 100-degree little fucking flip right here. So I thought he was menacing in Deadpool, and I was like, he's a real big douche. That's what he's supposed to play. And then
No, he was a douche. It's just that I wasn't as compelled by his performance like I wanted to be.
Well, whatever. I hate him in Transporter Refueled gives me like rectal cancer, and so
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it. So
it's just
can't comment.
What an awful film to start with your career. However, he was great in Deadpool. So Deadpool number 3 because of the radical tone difference and just the fun environment that it had. So that is our number 3. We got 2 in a row, guys. So here's what's going to happen for our top 2. Now, Brian's got First Class in there. He's already put the first 2 X-Men films. He's going to have Days of Future Past on there. But where at, though? Brian started out with First Class. So a part of me says that he's going to have a little bit of nostalgia to First Class, so he might put that as his number 1. But Days of Future Past is regarded as the best, if not one of the best. I'm going to say Brian's number 2 is X-Men First Class.
My number 2 is indeed First Class.
Boom.
Magneto, Fassbender, I love you. This was the first X-Men film I saw, and yeah, it is special to me simply for that reason. But there's so many things I love about this movie. I was just rewatching it on Thursday, right before I saw Apocalypse, and just the open. I love how it opens with the sequence that was from the first X-Men. The scene that opened up the entire franchise, showcasing what happened to Magneto as a kid. And you brought up Kevin Bacon. I'm going to say this right now, and this may sound like the stupid thing from me, but I'm going to say this right now. Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw, he is my favorite villain in this franchise thus far. I love Kevin Bacon so much. He was menacing as hell, and he was very suave. He owned the role of Sebastian Shaw. Like, he nailed it. He nailed it. The Bacon. You nailed it, brother. I love you. But no, Fassbender was excellent as Magneto. I will go on a limb by saying I think he's better than McKellen. I think he and McAvoy are both better than the original ones. They just have something special, and they're back and forth. Their performances have gotten way better since this one. I mean, they were already great, but when you watch like Days of Future Past and the Apocalypse, these two are still like so mesmerized, and you feel for them, you care for them, you understand where each of them are coming from. It's really heartbreaking. And yeah, like you said, when you hear like why Magneto's the way he is, you're just like, oh shit, I feel for you, bro. I feel kind of bad, but you're still evil. So I mean, like, yeah, and then all the other mutants were great. Like, yeah, to talk about Jennifer Lawrence, I don't love her in this franchise. I thought she was fine here. I won't talk about how she is in the other films, but not yet, at least. And like, yeah, Lucas Till you brought up, Zoe Kravitz, fucking love her. She is like a bae in Hollywood. Angel. I wish there was more of that character because she really owned that character. And also to talk about Jerry Jones, I don't hate her performance. Unknown came out that year, and she was way better in that than this. And this is the better film. So that's kind of weird. I think she was trying to act like her character from Mad Men. I haven't seen Mad Men, but from what I heard, she's kind of like very stoic on Mad Men. So, I mean, whatevs. But no. Yeah, like you said, the bar scene in Argentina gets me. They're like asking, who are you? And he's just like, let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster. Like, fucking awesome. And then they go to another bar later on. Eric. I'm Charles. Go fuck yourself. Wolverine. One of the top 5 cameos in film history. One of my favorite cameos in any film ever. It's alongside the Bill Murray cameo in Zombieland. I really love First Class. And it's really intense, especially the last 20 minutes on the beach. Fucking great. Love First Class so much. Guys, Matthew Vaughn did a stellar job bringing this franchise back to form. Like, he did a really great job. And this was a perfect prequel. And if you guys are, like, not, like, huge X-Men fans and you're looking for a film to start off, I think this would be a perfect one to start off with, although it is better to start off with X-Men 1. But you don't have to worry about starting off with this one because I did. I got everything, and then I rewatched all the other ones after that. So I did a very good job. First Class is my number 2. I love it so much. I'm really glad I saw this in the theater because at first I was like, I don't know if I want to go see that, but I'm like, sure, why not? I loved it. I had a great time with it. So yeah, First Class is my number 2.
I forgot to mention for X-Men First Class, since we both have talked about it now, when the movie ends, the fucking score over the credits is incredible. If you guys want to hear a really good like X-Men score, First Class is definitely my favorite. It like I remember I saw it like several times in the theater because I worked at the movie theater at the time. So when I was cleaning the theaters, that music would play over and over again and just got stuck in my head. And I was like, oh, dude, this is some good shit. So yeah, great pick. So all right, Brian, what would you like to guess my number 2 is?
I think your number 2 is Days of Future Past.
Yep. I think Brian has nailed it because, like I said, our age difference will shine in this episode for sure. But Days of Future Past is my number 2. Now, I heard where Brian was going in his First Class review, so let me lead off with that. Jennifer Lawrence's performance in this was better than First Class. She was way better in Days of Future Past. I still don't care for her as Mystique, but whatever. She's way better in this one than she has in the entire trilogy. I'm already going to call it right now. In my review tomorrow, when I review Apocalypse, Jennifer Lawrence will be one of the weak spots. Because every time I saw a goddamn trailer for Apocalypse, you are X-Men now. Cool, Jennifer Lawrence. You just got paid like $100,000 to say that fucking line. Like, could you at least...
Yeah, what about the way she says Charles when Charles gets pulled away? Charles.
Ridiculous.
Charles.
Ridiculous. I haven't even seen the movie
Charles.
yet. I haven't even seen the movie yet, and I can already tell you that performance is flat. Just based.
All right. I'll say this right now. She was one of the weakest spots of Apocalypse. I'm telling you that right now. And I really liked the film. It didn't make my list. I think you were obviously able to tell that. But I really enjoyed the film. She was the weakest spot. Well, not the weakest spot. She gave the weakest performance in the film. Not the weakest, one of them. But yeah, when you compare her to First Class and then Days of Future Past, she went down. Like, it was, I was like, J-Law, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck? You're an Oscar winner. You're better than this. Like, come on, babe. You're better than this. But yeah.
Yeah, I can already tell. But her performance in this one was way better. So getting to the movie itself, I love the fact it was set in the 70s. I love the Sentinel storyline. the Sentinels are really powerful in the comics and stuff. And I love the fact that Peter Dinklage played fuck, Brian, what's his name?
Trank.
Yeah, Trank. Sorry. Yeah, but he's a really menacing villain. Like, I've seen a few episodes of Game of Thrones, and I can tell you right now, the 3 episodes I've seen, Peter Dinklage is the best part. I love Tyrion Lannister. He is an evil little fucker. That's what he is. He's a little bastard.
He's not evil anymore. I'm back to binge watching that shit. I'm rapidly watching that shit. Dude, fucking guy. Even if you think he's evil, you still love the guy, just like you said.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He's a very likable bastard. So,
oh, of course he is.
I will say that Peter Dinklage looks really funny in like 70s hair and mustache.
No, he does. He does. I was just watching the film like an hour ago, and yeah, he looks hilarious with that stuff.
He looks great. Like, but yeah, he's really good at it, and I don't really care that Wolverine was the main character. A lot of people have a problem with that because he's been in the forefront this whole time. I think Hugh Jackman, he is the strongest presence. Like, I know that you don't want to believe that, but he is the strongest personality out of all of them, character-wise and actor-wise. So having him in the forefront does not bother me. I like the fact that he led the story and he went into the past and he tried to tackle the Sentinel situation before it got out of control and it basically taken over the entire world, killing mutants everywhere. So I liked Hugh Jackman and stuff. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, whatever. I've seen better films with them, i.e. the first 2, but they were fine. Everyone else was fine. It was more about Hugh Jackman, Mystique, Peter Dinklage, and the Sentinels. And, of course, the first-class characters. Nicholas Hoult is really coming onto me really good with Beast. That came out wrong. You guys understood how I was supposed to phrase that. I'm trying to think of the fucking phrase now. I'm becoming more attached to him as Beast after seeing Days of Future Past. I think he does a really great job playing that character, and I gotta be honest, I didn't really care for Kelsey Grammer as Beast, and that just may be because I've seen Nicholas Hoult play it more times than him now. So, yeah, I really like Nicholas Hoult as Beast. Quicksilver, that's who I was thinking. I was like, who was the standout again? Quicksilver. Of course, everyone talks about the breakout scene. That scene is iconic. It will go down as one of the best sequences in the X-Men franchise. And when I get to my number 1 spot, I'll describe a certain scene that Bryan Singer also did that kind of reminded me of the Quicksilver scene. And so he was a really great character to introduce. All the new ones were great and stuff. It was just a really good story. It was a really good movie, and that's what I tell people. X-Men Days of Future Past is not only a good comic book movie, it's a good movie in general. I remember when I saw that movie for the first time, I was just blown away by the whole spectacle of it, from the story and just the way it was told and put together and the emotion behind it, and how it retconned basically the shittiest ones in the franchise, basically just erased everything and was like, all right, everything's fine now. And then, of course, McAvoy and Fassbender, they kill it even more. Their chemistry is even more palpable, and that plane scene is just another scene that stands out to me where I'm just like, wow, they really nail these characters. It's incredible. And I'm assuming from Apocalypse, there's probably going to be a couple scenes where I'm just like, fuck yeah, they exploited it even more. So, yeah, it's just a really great film. There's really nothing more to say. And the funniest thing about that movie is the poster. If you look at the poster, Professor X is sitting in his wheelchair, just like floating in midair, and he looks like he's confused and like out of place on the poster. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up the Days of Future Past poster. It is hilarious. He's just sitting out in midair, just sitting in his wheelchair. I'm just like, oh, poor Professor X. So that is my number 2. It's just a damn good film. So leading off into our number 1s. I already know what Brian's is because I just got done talking about it. So, oh wait, yeah, I was confused for a second. So yeah, Brian. So could you tell me why Days of Future Past is your number 1, and basically tell me why? Because this explains our age difference here. I kind of figured you would choose a newer one versus an older one because you said it yourself. you kind of grew up with the newer ones, even though you saw them kind of late before the older ones. So what about Days of Future Past rings true to you as the best X-Men film so far?
Well, to me, like the thing with a lot of superhero movies and comic book movies to begin with, there's so many characters in them. There were a lot of characters in this film. They were able to balance them out super well. That's the thing I realized when I saw the film. Well, the thing is, when this film was coming out, I was excited for it because I remember when they announced that Singer was going to come out to direct it, I was pumped. I think as was everybody in the entire world. I'm sure you were pumped too because you're like, oh, yes, he's finally coming back because he's the guy who helmed the franchise. So obviously, I'm sure there was someone that was worried, but like, I was still excited. The trailers are coming out. They were great. I heard everyone was praising the film. Like, this film was getting that high of a reception. I'm a little surprised by that. I can't wait. So I saw it opening night. I loved it from beginning to end. And like you said, there's like combining the original cast and the newer cast was just something so it was an ultimate nerdgasm. I'm sure it was something big for X-Men fans, and it was something big for me too because like it was exciting to see all the old characters again. Storm, obviously, like you said, Stewart and McKellen were fine in the film, but it was just really awesome to see them again in these roles, even though they were on screen for a little amount of time. Obviously, Iceman was there. What's the name of the character that Ellen Page played? Kitty?
Yeah, Kitty.
Kitty
Pride.
Yeah, like all those characters in the first class cast, like you said, Jennifer Lawrence's performance was better. That fucking plane sequence. Plane sequence was my favorite sequence in the whole film. Yes, even better than the Quicksilver sequence. Because while I love the Quicksilver sequence, that plane sequence is the best acted scene. As well as the sequence where he has what's that? Oh, fuck, I'm so stupid for forgetting this. What's the name of the helmet he puts on his head when he reads people's minds?
Oh, it's like, I mean, the area.
Cerebro?
Yeah, the area he's in is Cerebro.
Yes, Cerebro. And like when he tries to read Wolverine's mind, he's like, I don't want your suffering, I don't want your future. And then he interacts with his older self, and it's really like just a compelling scene. Like just what McAvoy does, like, you know, he injects the stuff in him so that he can walk. He gave up his powers just so he could walk. Like that, just so he could sleep. He said it on the plane. Like Eric was like, you gave up your powers so that you could walk. And then Charles like, I gave up my powers so I could sleep. Like it was a really like heartbreaking line, and I just found the emotional element in this film to be really on point. And the action sequences were great. The last fight sequences involving the Sentinels were awesome. What happens at the end was great. The end, the credit scene, which leads to this new film, love that. I just really dug the way Days of Future Past was handled. I didn't think that it would be handled super well with the overabundance of characters, and that's why I got a little worried when it came to Civil War. I'm like, how are they going to handle this with like over 20 characters? And they handled it perfectly. Obviously, I think Civil War is a better film than this one, but that being said, I still think Days of Future Past nailed it on every single aspect possible. I really love this film. It was one of my favorite films of 2014. It's one of my favorite comic book films. It's my personal favorite X-Men film. I can understand why people might say that your number one is the best one. I totally understand that. I think that might be the best in terms of filmmaking, but to me, my personal favorite one is Days of Future Past. I really love the way this film was done. I love it so much. It is my number one.
You know, I was thinking about this while you were talking. 2014 was a damn good year for comic book movies. We had Winter Soldier, Days of Future Past, and Guardians of the Galaxy all within a span of 4 months. That was a hell of a year right there. So
that whole summer was filled with critical acclaim movies, like you said, Winter Soldier, Days of Future Past, Edge of Tomorrow, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
It was a great fucking summer. So yeah, it's a really great pick. I can't really argue with it, except for my number one. Brian, would you like to say what my number one is?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chase's number one is X2 X-Men United, but really all of us call it X2.
It's actually Origins Wolverine, but thank you for playing. No, that would be awful. No, I watched X2 X-Men United today, and first of all, before I say this, why did they call it X2? I was doing it in my head, and I was like, well, you can't really call it X-Men 2 X-Men United. You can't put X-Men twice. That sounds stupid. So actually, X2 actually works. So X2 X-Men United is the best X-Men film. Now, the whole X-Men franchise deals with prejudice and really attacking people that are in a minority. And that kind of resonates, still true to this day. And X2 came out in 2003 or 2002, I keep forgetting. So all these elements that are happening in the movie with people attacking these mutants and like putting them in jail because they are different than other people, that shit is still true to this day in 2016, which I have no fucking clue why. But that one has a lot more relatable themes into it concerning the X-Men and what they actually stand for. You know, it's a group of these people that fight for their right for the rights of, you know, as everyone else, and not to be treated differently. And that kind of rang true, especially with the opening, with like what Brian said, that the presidential scene of Nightcrawler sneaking into the White House and almost killing the president. And then he eventually teleports out of there, and you see that on the knife that he has, it says mutant freedom or whatever it says. And you're thinking to yourself, huh, well, what he did was kind of wrong, but he was making a statement. And the whole movie is about making a statement. And the reason why I put this one as my favorite one is because of Stryker. Stryker, to me, the guy is he's the villain in this sequel. He is worse than Magneto. He is. He is a normal human being that wants to basically do what the Holocaust was. Take a certain group of people, ostracize them, and stick them in jail cells because they're different, because they're not accepted by society. And I thought that was kind of interesting because Magneto went through the Holocaust, and because he is Jewish, and that's how the whole franchise opens, and that's how First Class opened and stuff. So I found Stryker to be a more menacing villain because not only that, he used his son for his sick little games in the movie, and it's like, dude, you are fucked up, bro. Like that's just not, it's not right. You just stop that shit. So not only that, you have all these X-Men working together and taking down this simple human being that like just wants to see mutants burn, and it's like it's kind of shocking and haunting to watch because this stuff rings true to what happened, you know, back in the 60s with you know, African Americans and, you know, the way white people treat them and stuff, and, you know, slavery and whatnot. It's just fucking bizarre how relevant it is today. And like what Brian said, the way it was filmed, it feels like a real just big cinematic movie. I loved all the fight sequences in the movie, especially the one that Brian was talking about, where Stryker's army dudes enter the you know, X-Men Academy or whatever, and they're like just killing people and they're capturing people. And I watched it again earlier today. I saw it in theaters when I was 12 or 13, and I still love this scene to this day when there's a guy about to shoot Iceman in the kitchen, and then a Wolverine like hits his arm, and then he pins him up against the refrigerator, and he does like the biggest like Wolverine yell as he's like stabbing the hell out of him. It's just like, it's one of those badass moments where you go, wow, Hugh Jackman is this character, as well as everyone else. Moving on to Professor X, Patrick Stewart, once again, really, really great. He gets manipulated in the movie, and that's something you rarely ever see because Professor X is a powerful human being. You see Storm use a lot of her powers. There's a lot of tornadoes. There's a lot of thunderstorms and stuff. You see Cyclops. He's in the movie. Jean Grey is used pretty well. She's further along with her character, and kind of like that weird love triangle that her, Cyclops, and Hugh Jackman have. Rogue has a lot of really strong plot points, and how she can't really, you know, touch people without hurting them and stuff. And then you have the fire guy that, you know, switches on to the other side of Magneto at the very end. And Magneto, even though he still like works with the X-Men in the middle of the movie, he's still douche at the end of the movie. And it's like, God damn it, Magneto. Like I was rooting for you. And speaking of Magneto, one of the best scenes of the entire franchise is when he breaks out of jail and he lifts the security guard up and he explodes the iron out of him, and the blood just goes everywhere. And he has the iron from his body, and he forms like little iron balls, and he like shoots them through the windows and kills the security guards. And I was like, Wow, this is a badass Magneto moment. Moving on to Mystique. This was the movie where I was like, Rebecca Romijn is Mystique. Holy shit. In this movie, she is seductive. She is mysterious. She kicks a lot of ass. She's that woman that you see that you go, holy shit, I want to bang her, but she's going to like fuck you up. Like she is a femme fatale to no end, and her makeup looks really cool, and she just does a lot in this movie. That's what I really like about the sequel. Everyone's got a big part. Everyone has their moment to shine. And there's just a lot of stuff that, happened in terms of plot and stuff and how it furthers along to where when Brian said, when it ends, you're like, holy shit, I can't wait to see the third one. But not so much. Another thing, I love the fight sequence between Wolverine and X-23, basically the female Wolverine. That scene's incredible. I really wish that they would bring her back as a character down the line and stuff. Maybe she'll pop up in Wolverine 3. That'd be pretty badass. But it was really cool to see her, like, have her adamantium claws come out of her fingernails, and she has 10 of them. Wolverine's only got 6. So when he sees the claws come out, he's like, holy shit. Then they start fighting, and it's really fun to watch. And speaking on that scene, you see a little bit more backstory into Wolverine. And another scene that haunts me out of the whole entire franchise is when he has these flashbacks to when Stryker was experimenting on him, putting the adamantium in his skeleton and basically creating to who he is today. And it shows that one shot where he like escapes out of the tub and he's covered in blood with his claws out, and he has no idea what to do, and he just escapes. I was like, dude, that's such a great fucking scene, because that shows you why Wolverine's a badass, and it shows you why he's fucking bitter. I mean, the dude just got experimented on, and like, it kind of changed his life forever. And so that's why he's kind of a sarcastic dickhead to people, but you get why he is that way. And so you see a little bit more from his past. There's just a lot going on in this movie where you see everything furthered more. Everyone's got their moment. The action scenes are well done. It's got a lot of great messages with prejudice and stuff, which is what the X-Men franchise and what the comics were based on. It's just a great representation of this franchise, and that's why X2, X-Men United, is my favorite X-Men film thus far. So, Brian, what do you think about that?
I like I said, I'm not against that whatsoever, to be quite honest. And it kind of does depend on the whole age thing, like you said.
Yeah, no, I mean, because like I said, X2 came out when I was in middle school. You said that you watched First Class when you were 13. You were also in middle school. So we basically watched these movies at the same time period of our lives. But you were too young to see the first two anyways. So that's why you started First Class. So yeah, I just, X-Men will always hold a special place in my heart. It is one of my favorite superhero franchises because it is one of the very first ones I saw in theaters, and it holds a very special place in my heart. So yeah, let me ask you guys this. What is your favorite X-Men film out of the franchise so far? Comment in the place from my face and let me know. And let's get into some honorable mentions. I got to defend one of them. But one of them is X-Men The Last Stand. It's the third one. It's whatever. I don't consider it bad or anything. It's just like, but the cool thing is in Days of Future Past, they retconned it. It's wiped away. So none of it ever happened. So that's what's great about it. Another one I find pretty good, even despite that the last like 20 minutes or so, I do like the Wolverine standalone movie. The second one. I like the fact that he went to Japan and we kind of saw this just kind of like this really cool side story that we saw Wolverine kind of go on, because he's a drifter. And that's what's really cool about his character, is that we can see this character go to any country, any situation, and just kind of deal with it. And I thought it was engaging. I thought the action scenes were cool. Hugh Jackman was buffer than ever before. And a lot of people complain about the last 20 minutes. I don't mind the last 20 minutes where he fights, the fucking weird little robot or whatever. What bugged me about the movie was the villain, this Poison Ivy chick. Of course, it's not Poison Ivy because that's a DC character, but let's just call her Poison Oak. So Poison Oak is a terrible character in the movie because she was kind of underdeveloped, and she was in, she was out, and then she just like showed up really fast and just like, I'm the fucking villain. You're like, good for you. So other than that, I really enjoyed it. It was a really great watch, and it had one of the best in-credit scenes of the entire franchise because it set up Days of Future Past, which got me hyped up for that movie even more because the Wolverine came out the year prior. And that's it. That's basically almost all of them in the franchise. We'll get to the disarmables in just a minute. But Brian, I'm assuming one or both of those land on this list for you.
Well, yeah, the Wolverine for sure. I really, really enjoyed the Wolverine very much. I've said this to many people before when it comes to that film. I really wish Darren Aronofsky directed that film, but James Mangold did do a good job of it. I would have loved it if Aronofsky just directed it, but I get why he had to drop out because of some stuff, I don't remember. It doesn't really matter now. And I will say this about X3. It would be in the okay section. Like, it's an okay film. The only reason why everyone says it's bad is because when you compare it to the first two, it's not on the same level as those films. Like, that's why they're like, oh my God, it's so bad. Like, and that's why people always say Spider-Man 3 is bad. I don't think Spider-Man 3 is the worst thing ever. I get why people say it is. But to be quite honest, the only reason why people don't give that film, like, the only reason why people hate on that film so much is because it's not on the same level as the first two, particularly the second one. So I think that's like a little cocky. But and Apocalypse is an honorable mention too. I don't understand the critic reception for this film. Us YouTubers are actually really giving this film positive reception. Was it a letdown? Slightly a letdown for me because I was expecting a little more from it, but I still really, really enjoyed the film. I had some flaws with the pacing. This was a pacing issue. There was some stuff that was going on all over the place that kind of annoyed me a little bit, but I still had a great time with it. And Jennifer Lawrence was horrible in this film, which really upsets me. But, I mean, what can you do? The new kids were fantastic. Ty Sheridan, Sophie Turner, and Cody Smith-McPhee were fantastic. And I'm going to disclose this right now. I'm not a big Cody Smith-McPhee guy. That guy is so fucking emo. It's like, dude, I don't know if he could play this character. He nailed it. I think he might have been slightly better than Alan Cumming. I would have to think about that. He nailed this role. McAvoy and Fassbender, once again, fantastic. There's a scene in the forest. Chase, when you see it tomorrow, you'll probably cry your tears out. You like, if you don't cry or feel something, then yeah, there's a problem.
I will feel something because that's a great bromance relationship right there.
It is. And then the Quicksilver sequence in this movie, still debating whether or not I like that more than the Days of Future Past one. I'm still debating. I have to think. Action great. I dug Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. Now, the reason why I originally said Jennifer Lawrence might not be the worst performance is because Olivia Munn's here. And I love Olivia Munn. I know a lot of people give her hate. I love that woman to death. And she was so underutilized as Psylocke. I thought there was going to be more of her because she was promoted so much. She's on the freaking poster, for goodness sakes. So I thought she would be in this movie way more. She's only in 3 scenes. She only has like 2 lines of dialogue. And it's really upsetting. I mean, maybe there's going to be more of her. I'm not going to spoil anything. But, like, I hate that character was underutilized. I love what they did with Storm. She had an accent here. And the woman that played her, I feel like I saw her before. I have to think. She looked like someone. I have to think. And, the Angel character, horrible, underutilized, just not performance. Performance was fine, but character was very underutilized. I really enjoyed Apocalypse. I don't get all the hate for it. Yes, is it as good as the last 2 X-Men films? No, it's not. But I still found it to be a very enjoyable summer blockbuster with some good story elements, great performances for the most part, and just a really fun time. And yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
I think that's going to be one of your quotes for 2016 so far. What you said about Storm, you're like, she looks like someone. I have to think about it. Yeah, yes, she does look like someone. She looks like a whatever her name is. So that's one of Brian's top quotes so far. Yeah, I'm really excited to see Apocalypse at the time of this recording, which is Saturday night. I'm seeing it tomorrow morning. Super stoked for that shit. It's going to be very, very fun. And the thing about Angel, Brian was disappointed in Apocalypse. I was disappointed in The Last Stand, and he was played by one of my favorite actors, Ben Foster. And it's like, Jesus, can they nail this character right? I don't know, because Angel was one of the wasn't he one of the OGs in the X-Men?
I believe so. Oh, okay. So the woman that played Storm in this film played Ice Cube's wife in Straight Outta Compton.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that was her. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it because obviously I'm from Texas, and my boy Ty Sheridan is also from Texas. He's representing Cyclops, and I'm excited to see him branch off and do that because I got to meet him and stuff. And this is when he did Mud, and Joe, so he was kind of unknown and stuff. Now he's gonna be more known, and I'm excited to see that kid's career flourish and stuff. So Ty, if you listen to this podcast, give me a call, buddy. I would like to help you out in a movie. Give me a job. That sounded a little desperate, but that's okay. We're all friends here. So yeah, that is the honorable mention. Dishonorable mention. Me and Brian have the same one because it's the only one and the last one in the franchise that we haven't discussed. It's X-Men Origins Wolverine. No, just no. More like a fuck no, but kind of a hell no in some parts. Just no. I didn't even enjoy this movie like in theaters. Do I own it on DVD? Sure, because I'm a completist and I'm kind of a jackass. So I got all 7 of them over there, but I don't ever touch it. It just looks pretty next to the other ones. It's just there for support. It's more of like one of those like bookend things that you stick on each side of the books. That's what it is. It's the bookend for my movies. Yeah, I don't like it at all. It's not an engaging story. Deadpool. Don't need to discuss that part. The special effects are atrocious. That's one of the worst parts about this movie. Wolverine's claws are pretty horrendous. Like, look at X2, and you're like, I can slightly forgive it because that was 13 years ago. Origins Wolverine was 5 years ago, and those computer effects looked awful. The only
5
good
years
part,
ago. 7. 5 years ago, First Class came out.
Oh yeah, wait, when did Origins come out? 2009?
Yeah.
Oh, whoops! I was thinking 2011. I apologize. Sorry. Anyways, that's still way less than X2. The only part I did like was the beginning where Sabretooth and Wolverine were fighting through the different wars. That was fucking dope. Like, I wish I would have seen like a whole movie based on that and stuff. And kind of see like their friendship kind of blossom as they were teenagers and slightly adults. Instead of beginning with that and then dribbling off into this very forgetful movie with terrible action sequences and another underutilized character with Gambit. So it's just the whole thing was underwhelming. Just did not care for it. I didn't even enjoy myself in the theater. And Hugh Jackman, I still love the guy. Like, at least he gave it his all. It's just I'm not going to knock it on him because I'm still looking forward to Wolverine 3, his last time he's ever going to put on these claws and stuff. So, but Origins, man. Just why? I am a completist, like I said, so I do own it because I'm a jackass. But other than that, I have no reason to ever watch it ever again. So, Brian, would you like to go on your little rant on this one?
Yeah, it sucks. And the
Brian,
end.
could you just flip off the camera and just say, "There you go"?
There you go. Flip it off. Bam.
Wait, you didn't flip off the camera.
Flip off.
There you go, Origins. That was just for you. So, with that being said, guys, what are some of your least favorite ones? And all that stuff, just comment in place with my face and let me and Brian know. So, with that being said, Brian, what are we discussing next week?
Next week, TMNT Out of the Shadows comes out. This is going to be a very interesting list because I already know what Chase's number 1 is. I have an idea. So next week, we're going to be doing our top 5 films based on cartoons. Now, this could be very interesting because Chase grew up in the 90s. He was born in 1990. I grew up in the 2000s. So, I mean, like, this is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very diverse list. So, I mean, I cannot wait to do this. I'm excited to do this list.
Is there, and like always, I have to ask you, are there any rules or regulations for this list?
Theatrical films, obviously. Not like the made-for-TV stuff, just theatrical films.
Okay, and are we only doing one per franchise, or can we do more?
One per franchise. One per franchise, definitely.
Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be really interesting. You want to talk about it? You thought this was an age difference? Oh, no. Me and Brian grew up with different Nickelodeon shows, different Disney shows, different cartoons. We grew up with all different kinds of shit. So this is going to be, yeah, he probably knows what my number 1 is because.
I know what your number 1 is.
It's great. It's awesome.
It's not your number 1. It's definitely your number 2.
It's a classic. That's all I'm going to say. And when I bring it up and if you shake your head, you're like, a classic, you dumb fuck. No, it's not. And I'll be like, oh, fuck yeah, it is. And I'll justify it. So Yeah, that is what we're doing next week. Movies based on cartoon shows. So that's gonna it's gonna be interesting. So yeah, so that will be next week. And so Brian, where can the people find you online?
Twitter at BrianStuff98 and on YouTube at Brian Stuffield. Guys, go see Apocalypse this weekend. If anyone drags you to see Alice Through the Looking Glass, say fuck no, I will hurt you. I saw that this morning and I fell asleep. It was a good nap for me.
Wow.
It was a good nap, but real, and also happy Memorial Day.
Yes, happy Memorial Day to all the veterans and people currently enlisted and stuff. Brian fell asleep because he was hungover. See, you see how I wrapped that?
Not just that. No, I was awake for a good amount of the film, and then halfway through the film, when fucking Helena Bonham Carter kept on screaming about, oh, Alice this, Alice that, oh my God, Alice, 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 shut the fuck up and stop screaming. And then, all right, I know this is gonna be off topic, but then if anyone comes up and does this to you, because this is what Anne Hathaway did the entire film, just doing this. Like, just doing that, like, Anne Hathaway, what the fuck? Are you trying to be Jack Sparrow? What the fuck? We have Jack Sparrow in the film. Like, come on. Don't steal his thunder.
I think
horrible film. Don't go see it, people.
I think we need to stop right there because I think Brian's about to pop a blood vessel. So, yeah, yeah, go see X-Men Apocalypse. And if you want to see Alice Through the Looking Glass, good luck. I'm not. So, yeah, next week, the cartoons once again. If you want to follow me, it's at Real Chase Lee. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get up-to-dates on when we do these shows live. You can check them out week to week. You can check out older episodes. And if you're listening on Spreaker and you want a video version, link in the description below for that YouTube link. And if you're watching on YouTube, audio-only version, vice versa, link in the description below. So I'm Chase Lee, and this has been another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live. Who are you, young man in the corner?
I'm Brian Sutfield.
That's fucking right, and he's going to get some sleep, and the hangover will be gone by next week. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of this crazy-ass show. Let's play the outro music, which is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. They're blowing up in Dallas. Check them out. Link is also in the description below. Play that fucking music. X-Men. Oh, yeah. I just love that whole franchise. It's great. It's good shit. Good shit. All right, see you guys next week.